Hi, everybody. Good evening. Um, Dr. Dorian Dugmore welcoming you to the next series of webinars that I hope you find are both enjoyable and interesting, but also some good information on your health and well-being. So um, we'll start, and the whole premise of this next series of presentations will be what we're going to call the Wellness, Health and Lifestyle Audit. And if you were to buy a business or to look at being involved in a new business, the first thing you would do is to engage in a thing called due diligence. And due diligence means you would look at the business, you'd look at the profitability of the business, you'd look at the way in which the business was run, and you'd do your homework in terms of really getting to know about the business. And particularly if you were a buyer of the business, you'd want to really make sure that everything was right about the business and that the business was in a healthy shape. Well, the thing that runs a business generally are people. And what's more important than making sure that the people not in the business, but the people generally in your lifetime are in good shape and in good health? So the whole approach we take in this next series is to do a wellness audit and look at the key aspects that make up a healthy mind and body. So very important. So to do that, then we're looking at health behaviors. And those behaviors are so important to audit and to assess, to check our own health and well-being. So we're looking at a number of topics like exercise, like stress and emotional health and happiness. We're looking at work-life balance, and that's very often a major challenge to our health and well-being when people sometimes spend too much time at work and too much energy engaging in work without looking after their own health and well-being. Sleep, of course, is another behavior that is critically important. We did a webinar earlier on sleep is the new exercise, because that's when our cells repair. So that's so important, as is relaxation, winding down, and releasing some of the stresses and strains of the day so that we have some of our own downtime. So that's a very important behavior. Naturally, diet and nutrition is critical. We are what we eat. And so that's a very important behavior to look at, as is other behaviors that may have a negative impact on our health, like smoking. We know that the correlation between smoking and heart disease and cancer is very strong. It's irrefutable. And so trying not to smoke is a key element that can, of course, benefit our health if you are a smoker, that is. And then alcohol consumption, good and bad news. A very limited and moderate amount can almost be, to a degree, have some benefit to your health, but too much alcohol for sure is damaging to our health, and particularly to the liver. Hydration and water. Water is the elixir of life, and the body is 80% plus water in terms of our circulation, our brain. And so we really need to make sure that we're well hydrated and drink plenty of water. And then the other element to look at is to look at things like heart disease and cancer risk and lifestyle risk, and know the factors that contribute to behaviors that can increase risk associated with those diseases. And then finally, as we age throughout the decades, from childhood through to adolescence, to young adulthood, to middle age, to senior citizenship, then the focus on health and well-being can very often change, and the behaviors that are needed to protect ourselves as we go through that age range continuum are so important. And if we don't look at those areas we've just discussed, then risk factors will certainly increase. So for a corporate health behavior profile, we need to look at many of those factors. So the three key elements are listed there. It's called the three-lane highway. It was originally designed by a very famous Olympic athletics coach, and he's identified that we've got our professional commitments in our lives, our jobs, our work, and what we do professionally. That includes training, that includes education. There's lots of things that really contribute to our professional persona. And that's a very important element of our lifestyle. Then the next one is family. And as we go through life, then we have family commitments, we have family responsibilities, we have family challenges. And so there's also on the other side of the fence, great enjoyment with families, great support and great connectedness. And so families are important. And finally, we've got the personal element. That's what we do outside of professional commitments, outside of family commitments, what we do for ourselves, our own spirituality and our own enjoyment. And often people have difficulty balancing all three. And invariably, professional life, to a degree, family, overtakes our personal enjoyment and our personal health and well-being. And sometimes that can get sacrificed. Not always, but sometimes that can be the case. So we have to look at all of those elements when we look at our wellness audit to make sure we have that wonderful word called balance in centering all of those to benefit our health and well-being. So what are winning sort of behaviors? Well, there's a very famous Olympic coach and mentor called David Brailsford, and he worked very closely with the British Olympic cycling team, and they were very, very successful indeed. And he developed a whole series of what we call winning behaviors that will impact our health and well-being. And in a personal sense, we need to audit. So when we think about being involved in our professional careers and our work, then some of the questions we can ask of ourselves is, am I in control of my emotions? Or do I let anxiety and tensions and stresses and strains really impact on my behavior? And of course, that can have a negative impact on our health. The next question is, do I allow personal problems to affect my work? And sometimes people have a whole series of issues and challenges themselves that may be outside of the work, but do they take it to work and do they let it impact on their work? And that's a thing to obviously avoid, because that has a negative impact on your performance. Another key behavior is you're working in a team, as we all are in our businesses and certainly in dual life. Do we criticize our team members, or do we support them and give them constructive feedback, which you can see in the middle box below? And this is a critical one, which I'll talk about in a little bit more depth in a moment. Do we seek out marginal gains? What that means is, do we look at small but significant improvements that can actually benefit our performance, and in this case, our health, that can make a real difference? So there's lots of little things we can do to actually make our health to be more positive, to be better, and make us feel full of energy and improve our well-being. When we're working with other people, do we actively listen? So many people that when they're engaged in conversations actually don't listen actively. They don't switch to the person talking and really listen to what they're saying. And that's so important. And then when we go back to our teams, do we proactively help to solve problems for our teammates? And do we work together as a team to try and produce a positive outcome? And that's part of teamsmanship and being proactive in terms of having a good synergy in a team. And proactivity is the difference very often between a good team and a great team. And so those are some of the winning behaviors. But in our next slides, we'll look at the whole concept of marginal gains that can affect our health and well-being and our performance in our business world. So if we move on to our next slide, you can see the shot of some cycles in the background. When Dave Brailsford looked at increasing marginal gains, he looked at every element of cycling performance that could make a difference. The streamlining of the bike, the materials that made up the bike, the lightness and shape of the saddles, the position of the rider as they were riding the bike, the streamlining of the helmet so that the air flushed over the head and down the back, the position of holding the handlebars, the cadence of the wheels of the bike as they turned, a whole series. And he looked at every single element of making a successful Olympian cyclist. What was the result? By looking at just improving a whole myriad of small things. In 2012, the Great Britain team produced 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. And in 2007 to 2017, they won 66 Olympic and Paralympic gold medals. That's amazing. And the whole inference of that was to increase the marginal gains by making improvements and small differences. Take that to your health. And if you do that with your health, then, and by just improving small things, then the benefit overall on your health can be phenomenal. So that's what we mean by marginal gains. So one of the things that we need to do, and some of you will have seen this slide before, we have to judge how ready we are to make changes. And I used the example before of exercise. What's somebody who's a pre-contemplator? They're not thinking about exercising regularly and the benefits on their health and well-being. Number 2, what's somebody who's a contemplator? That's a person that's thinking about exercising regularly, but yet to do it. I think it's a good idea. What's number 3? Preparation. That's the person that's bought the best pair of trainers, got a wonderful tracksuit, has rejoined the gym, is really dead keen to exercise, and it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Number 4 is action. That's when they've been exercising for 3 to 6 months on a regular basis for 2 to 3 hours a week. Number 5 is maintenance. That's when they've been exercising for 6 to 12 months for 2 to 3 hours a week, and it's becoming a real health behavior. And number 6, termination, is when they've been exercising for 2 to 3 hours a week for 5 or 6 years, and it's part of their lifestyle. We all want to try and get, in terms of benefits of all the health behaviors we mentioned earlier, to number 6, so that it's part of our lifestyle and it is inherent in the way that we exist and benefit our health. And 2 important questions. If we want to make changes, we have to ask, how important are those changes and how confident are we to make those changes? And so if we had a scale of 0 to 10, if we're 8 or 9 in importance and confidence, we are ready to make those changes. And very often we'll need different motivators to build our confidence to make changes. And it has to become important in our minds that we need to make those changes to benefit our health. So all of those are important aspects of auditing our wellness and our lifestyles to benefit our health and well-being. So back to the cycling and looking at energy and performance. And the rhythm of our energy creates the pulse, I call it the pulse of life. It's the stimulus for all of our growth, of the tissues in our body, of the improvements in our cardiovascular and respiratory health, in the energy that we can maintain, in the optimization of things like our digestion and the cells in our body. All of those things are important to maintain good energy and making sure our body systems work effectively. But, and it's a big but, energy renewal is equally important. And that's when we rest and we allow growth to actually take place and we allow our cells to repair. And how often do you see people that overdo things and spend so much energy, whether it's at work or whether it's exercising or whether it's challenges, and they don't have any downtime? What they're doing is they're depriving their body of renewing its cells and having the energy to recover. And so that's so important. And you can see the team there of cycling together. And so when you've got good energy, you've got the people that are around you that share that energy, and it makes you part of a very, very energetic team. So important is the whole concept of energy and performance. And then the next slide. So there are 4 key areas that I'm going to look at the end of this series of webinars. And I've called it my personal wellness canvas. And there are the physical area, the emotional area, the spiritual area, and that doesn't mean religion. That means what you do outside of work and family for yourself, for benefiting your own energy performance and your own self. And then the 4th area is one of risk. And when we look at those areas, we can ask ourselves certain questions about our health and well-being. So let's move on to the first one, our physical well-being. And let's look at how we could possibly audit that. So physical well-being, well, there you can see the body. And the body has several key systems in that body to make it function effectively. And there you can see the full musculature of an individual, so important for movement and health. But inside that body, you've got the heart and lungs that are supplying the whole body with energy. You've got the digestion that processes foods and supports the energy we need. You've got the lymphatic system that helps promote how our energies move throughout the body and our system works throughout the body, and the cellular functions of it are correct. And so all of those things are key elements of our body. So if we move on to physical well-being, what we need to realize is we're all different. And we have 3 basic types of body shapes and size. One's called an ectomorph, one's called a mesomorph, and one's called an endomorph. And that whole, if you like, assessment approach is called your somatotype. And what's an ectomorph? Well, an ectomorph is a very slim and linear person, and very often very quite thin. What's a mesomorph? A mesomorph is Mr. or Mrs. Muscles, and they are clearly in good shape and have got a very, very strong musculature and very, very prominent musculature. And what's an endomorph? That's a chunkier type of person that is probably a little bit more rounded, a little bit chunkier, a little bit larger. And we're all usually a combination of at least 2 of those types. So we can be a mesoectomorph. That's a muscular and slim individual, which is very often thought, if you could choose your body shape, very often that is an ideal body shape. Or we can be a mesoendomorph, and that's a combination of being muscular and being on the chunky side. And the good news about that, and sometimes people think it's the bad news, but those people have got to exercise for the rest of their lives, because if they don't, that combination of mesoendomorphy will lead towards them putting on weight very, very easily. And I'm sure you all know people that are combinations of those somatotypes. And the clever approach to health and well-being, when we audit the whole approach to keeping people in good shape, is to realize what sort of body type they are, what balance of somatotype they are, and giving them realistic goals in terms of their health and well-being to make them reach their optimum in terms of well-being. So if we move on to our next slide, that's where some products are critical. And here we've got Dual Life Day, and we looked at energy during the day. We just talked about that. Well, all of the superb vitamins and minerals and plant-based bases are in Dual Life Day, and that will help support our vitality during the day. It will help us optimize our physical condition, build our immunity, really support our heart function, and again, support the brain and support our memory and concentration. And add all those up together with Dual Life Day, and you've got a supplement that really complements our energy and well-being. Dual Life Night. Remember, I said that one of the key things we have to do is to recover and renew. And so for that, we need a good night's sleep. So Dual Life Night will help optimize better sleep for us. It'll reduce any irritability. It'll help cleanse our body and repair our cells. And remember, that's when cell repair happens during sleep, and enhance our liver function and support our digestion. So those are two superb products that will certainly benefit our physical well-being, and that's the first part of the audit. So when we move on, let's look at our emotional well-being, and that's looking at combination of our energies in terms of emotions, brain health, mental health. So important as part and parcel of our well-being. And there are so many things that can make up our mental wellness. And of course, one of the big worries at the moment that we're hearing about almost daily is premature dementia, when people are not operating effectively in terms of their health and wellness of their mind and brain. And that can be very, very sad at times. But so many things can contribute to our mental well-being and our emotions, our own personal feelings, our anxieties, the stresses in our lives, how much resilience we've got. We talked a lot about those before, and they're all part and parcel of mental wellness. So emotional and mental wellness is a key element of auditing health. So if we move on to our next slide, Dual Life Mind has a great complement to promoting our mental health and well-being. And you can see some of the wonderful fruits and minerals and vegetables there that, amazing really, that putting them all together will enhance or help enhance our cognitive function, will make us sharper mentally. So important to protect our mind, and the mind-body connection is key. Another one is Pro Lumino, and again, a lot of the key extracts that are listed there from some of the things you can see, the zinc, the grapefruit, the sage root, all of those things will support Dual Life My Mind to really promote health and well-being of the mind. So they are, again, critically important and a key part of a wellness audit. So if we move on, now we're moving on to our personal welfare. And I've put in brackets there, spirituality. It's what we do outside of our professional commitments, outside of our family, what we do for ourselves. And that is so important. And when we realize that actually looking after ourselves will impact on everything else in our lives. And so, do we take the time to relax and take a minute for ourselves? Um, or are we so pressured that we consider that we just simply don't have the time to do it? And how often have you heard people say that sort of thing? And of course, time management is important, but spending time for yourself and doing some of the things that you really enjoy are critical to your health and well-being. And you have to remember, you're your biggest asset and your most important asset. And you should look after yourself, not just for yourself, but also for the people that you matter to in a great way, your family, your work colleagues. So critically important to take care of yourself as part of your personal well-being. So we move on. Again, Dual Life Day and Night will complement your own personal wellness, your own spirituality, your own ability to actually look after yourself and be proud of who you are and your own health and well-being. And so, again, those supplements, both of them are great for your own personal well-being. So, the final area, as part of our wellness audit, is health risk. And there are lots of features that we can measure that will combine to form a risk profile. And if we get some of those elements wrong, it's like a time bomb. And there's an illustration of the heart there. If we don't look after all the elements that make a healthy heart, our nutrition, our exercise, knowing our risk factors, then it can help compromise the circulation around the heart and cause major problems. And that applies to many diseases. So, what we should really focus on is knowing our key health and well-being numbers. Already, I've measured some of the people as part of Dual Life, and knowing that your health numbers, just like you know your business numbers, is so important as part and parcel of your health and well-being. And that again is critical part of risk. And certainly for your own personal health and knowing your numbers, here are three great products. My Blood, with all the complex vitamins and minerals that it has as in that wonderful glass bottle there, that will benefit your red blood cells, your oxygen carrying capacity, your hemoglobin, all the essential ions in your blood, your B vitamins. All of them are contained in My Blood and very, very good for reducing risk factors and helping your health and well-being. Chlorophyll, which will benefit your intestinal function, your digestive function, the microbiome, the immune factors that your body needs to protect you against a lot of the uh, ravages of always being busy and always being under pressure. So chlorophyll is a very, very good product to have. And then thirdly, collagen for your skin, for your muscles, for your joints, for the things that make up the human body. So you put those three together and they will complement knowing your numbers and helping you certainly reduce risk. So as we move on, some wellness goals that we need to really focus on. To be healthy, we need to eat well. We need to have the right complements through the supplements we've just illustrated. We need to drink lots of water. We need to exercise regularly so that we are actually mobilizing our bodies and making them energized. We need to go to bed early and we need to wake up early. We need to have a regimented series of approaches that give our bodies chance to recover and maintain consistent sleeping hours for keeping our bodies healthy. Throughout the day, we need to practice recovery time. And I know that Jim Lear in his book, The Corporate Athlete, says that every 90 to 120 minutes, we should take at least a 5-minute brain break where we can regenerate our mental and emotional health and well-being. And then finally, we need to share successes and failures and our well-being improvements with those of us that are closest to us. So what does our body need? Well, you can see a great illustration there. Every day we need 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 21 building blocks, amino acids, and omega 3, 6, and 9 acids. And they will all complement our bodies. Do we get them through all the foods that we eat? We probably don't. That's where the supplementation and the great products that we've talked about will really, really benefit. So how do we pull all this together? Well, one of the things that we're going to do at the end of this series is I'm going to give you a series of 8 or 9 questions that relate to each of those areas on your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, on your personal welfare, and on your health risk. And together, combined, they make up 34 questions. And you can score yourself on those questions, which will make up the wellness audit. But to really understand all the elements, we're going to take each of those 4 areas over the next 4 seminars and discuss them in more detail and relate them to the products that can benefit each of them. So they're physical, emotional, personal, and risk. And that's what we're going to do over the forthcoming seminars. So at the end of it all, you'll be able to score yourselves and hopefully use those key questions to benefit not just your health, but your families and those people around you. So I'm very excited about this whole seminar series. So coming to a close now, it'd be wrong for me to finish without mentioning World Healthy Living Foundation and the World Healthy Living Foundation internationally, because they are helping us to propagate and promote informations around healthy living that can really impact the populations at large around the world. And so a real series of applause for the work that they're doing and the educational materials and promotions that they're generating. And then finally, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to me. I'm so excited about the next series of webinars that I'm sure that we'll all hopefully gain some great benefit for our health and well-being. So I wish you all a lovely evening. It's been a pleasure speaking to you as always, and see you all soon.